If you're interested in uncovering one of the greatest mysteries in history, this is the place to be. David Stig Hansen has taken 3 expeditions to the Richat Structure, also known as the Eye of the Sahara. This massive 25-kilometer-wide bullseye formation, located deep within the Sahara Desert, is one of the most intriguing and debated natural formations on Earth. Go ahead, hit that subscribe button right now. After you've subscribed, make sure to like and share the videos to help spread this groundbreaking information.
I've been doing this type of thing my whole life in a way. My mother was really involved in UFOs and Atlantis, and I didn't want to have any part of it. In Guatemala, I was about 18, 19, I forget. I learned Chinese and I moved to Taiwan. There, I was 100 miles away from Yonaguni. I went to Cambodia a couple times, and during those 2 trips, I was still ignorant to this whole thing. In 2004, I'm in Cambodia trying to figure things out. But the one thing I did notice in Angkor Wat, we know how those are made with wood. And we talked about lathing a lot. So these are not wood. Those are stone. You can see down at the bottom where some of it's chipped off, maybe later changed. Maybe these were added later, but this is concrete. Or I'm sorry, this is stone. I don't know what it is, but it was the first thing I noticed, and I was still ignorant. But I remembered that from the first trip, and I saw it again, and I'm like, that's just, how the hell did they do that? And as you can see, there's even a little cut gap going straight down. How the heck did they do that? And that's at Angkor Wat. How old is Angkor Wat? There you go. So it says 1200. We know that's BS, right? We know it's not true. Moving on, sea arches, water caused it. Desert arches, wind caused it. Mountain arches, look at that one. That's a thick piece of rock. And how the heck did that just happen? Ice caused it. Arches National Park. Let's get rid of this. As you back out, you can see Moab and Colorado River, and that's the Green River. And when you come back in, you get to my favorite. Well, I wouldn't say favorite, right? But it's just obvious stuff going on. Okay, so where are we going? So the arches is up here. And yeah, I guess it's right there. No? Well, they're all over the place, these lines. And that's just a few. And if you know me and you don't believe those cuts right there. Okay, here they are. The ones that I wanted to show you are over here. Yeah, that's it right there. And you can find this all on my Was This Atlantis Facebook page. The links are there. Facebook.com Was This Atlantis, no spaces. And you'll see these lines. And the ones that I really, that's not them. This is not it. The ones I really wanted to talk about, well, I'm not finding them now. But there's so many, and they're everywhere. You back out and you start to see them. Zoom in here, and you see these lines, and you say, oh, that's just here's some other ones, totally different, by the way, right? And those are where the arches are. So the arches, you're going to see some that are totally perfectly perpendicular. I'll show you the picture later. We don't need to stay in here. Supporting points for African Atlantis, starting with the exit of the Mediterranean Sea. Exit the Mediterranean Sea and you have the Pillars of Hercules. You don't have the Atlantic Ocean yet. Technically, there's a Strait of Gibraltar there. And that's where the Rock of Gibraltar is where the rock meets the strait at the Mediterranean Sea. And Jebel Musa, the other Pillar of Hercules, I got to get that. I forgot a picture I want to put in my presentation. Jebel Musa, those 2 mountains are closer to the Mediterranean Sea than they are the Atlantic Ocean, the open Atlantic. They're pretty. You could really technically say you're in the Atlantic Ocean the minute you cross, if you want. But you've got like a strait, like 2 bodies of land coming together. So first, Plato mentions the Pillars of Hercules, and then he talks about Cadiz, a real-world city, the oldest city in Western Europe. And yeah, it's almost in Atlantic Ocean, not in, it is still in the Strait of Gibraltar, but it's definitely in Plato's writings. I think it was more of an ancient ley line. That's the same line as all these other places. Yes, I believe there was a cataclysm. And if you look at my notes, the Sebket El Guelb was the cataclysm. So those are alluvial fans that make it not round. And there is a rim, and the rim was breached by several alluvial fan points. I do have a bunch of pictures that really emphasize it well. Do you know about the what happened to the Clovis culture anyways? That's Clovis, New Mexico. What are all those red dots? Those are Carolina bays. Even though they're in New Mexico, that's how many impacts there were in New Mexico 13,000 years ago. The Carolina bays changed the land a lot in North America. We got to talk about all the impacts. And when you talk about a possible impact in the Richat structure, then you have to realize there were impacts going on. By the way, I kind of think that was an impact. Sometimes I think that circle, some see it dome. They call it a dome because they say it's volcanic. I don't think it's volcanic. I don't think it's a dome. I don't think it's a volcano. I think it might not be an impact structure either. Perhaps it was a tool of the Atlanteans. This line down here, I've been looking at that line for a long time. Oh, it's right there. I've been looking at that line for a long time. We've got one down here. I think those were ancient roads at this point. A bridge over the river right there. And yeah, it goes over this river here too. So it connected two rivers. Maybe it was a canal. And that's what Plato wrote. I'll show you more about canals instead of roads. The Richat structure is 4 times bigger than Plato's dimensions. Yes, we know that. Mike Parker down below on the right, he's the one that showed me this. The actual proportions of Atlantis overlaid on the Richat are right here. Here it has to be the blue is definitely the 1 stadia, then 2 stadia, then 2, then 3, then 3. Of course, the Piri-Reis map possibly shows the Richat structure. Look at the Tamanrasset River. It's definitely the Tamanrasset. This is Cape Blanco. Now that's a Spanish designation. It's got, of course, it was probably not called that during Atlantis. And then we've got this little one down here. What did I call that? Cape Timorous. And you can even see the shoal of mud, or maybe just a big old sand bar that exists right there. It's 30 miles long, or maybe 30 kilometers. And if you went up the ancient Tamanrasset, you hit this mountain, and then you get a dog. You get the feet of this person. I don't think that's Mansa Musa, but it could be. He doesn't look like he's black. He looks Arab to me. And I think we know Mansa Musa was black. And then you can see over here a system. And guess what else? Not the Tamanrasset. Tamanrasset doesn't seem to be connected to it. But we do have that one thing. Does it go through the dog and the bird? And then we have 3 others. And then we have 2 others. And whatever that thing is it a lake? Is that an island? It looks like it could be a little wizard guy. I'd love to see a higher resolution picture of that guy. This is all supporting the African Atlantis story. Here, Plato said there was an impassable barrier of mud to voyagers sailing from hence to any part of the ocean. Okay, so the ocean is out here, but do you think they're talking about a barrier of mud in the middle of the ocean? No, the mud is where I just showed you, right here. There it is. Piri-Reis map shows it. It's right there. Plato has also said that there were diverse islands in the open sea. That is saying 2 things, right? First of all, Atlantis itself might be an island, but it's not one of the diverse islands. It's not in the open sea. It's on the continent. And then he also later mentions a 200,000 square kilometer level plain. So where would that be located? In the Azores? All right, let's talk about the Rock of Gibraltar. This is a quick history lesson, but this is the Rock of Gibraltar. It gets its name from Tariq ibn Ziyad, part of the Umayyad Caliphate in the year 711. The Umayyad Caliphate had expanded all the way to the Atlantic Ocean, and their soldiers attacked what used to be the Visigothic kingdom. Don't know much about the Visigothics, but they seem to have been in control of this Iberian Peninsula up until 711. Tariq was the guy's name. He conquered the Iberian Peninsula. Jebel means mountain. Jebel Tariq over time started to be pronounced as Gibraltar. Jebel Tariq, the mountain of Tariq is what it means. Gibraltar. So there's the lesson. Gibraltar used to be Jebel Tariq. Moving on, Cadiz is right there. Cadiz is mentioned as being across from a lot of land that Atlas's twin collected. Okay, so instead of being out in the middle of the open sea, it's across from Gadira. Morocco was part of Atlantis, as was probably Doggerland, as was probably the Iberian Peninsula. So we've got Morocco, and what do you have there? The Atlas Mountains. Obviously, there's some connection to the story. Atlas Mountains. The name is Atlas. There was a King Atlas of Mauritania that contributed celestial globe for mapping the heavens, the stars. That would be for navigation of the sea, right? And then later, he also contributed to early techniques through his knowledge of the stars to navigation. Actually, that's the same thing. And then, of course, what do you have in every person's home? And you probably have one in your home, is the Atlas. Now, who is this guy? He's not the twin Atlas that inherited Atlantis from Poseidon. No, he's the King Atlas of Mauritania, a different guy. And when he was alive is not clear. So I worked on this one with AI. It was definitely more recent than Atlantis, but still like maybe 5,000 or 7,000 years ago. Nobody knows. And we should probably do some interviews with some Mauritanians to talk about what has been spread down by word of mouth. Herodotus also points at the Atlas Mountains. This is a very beautiful map. I love it, but it's not made by Herodotus himself. There are a lot of maps like these, but this one was really good, showing the journey across the Sahara every 10 days, it says. Atlantis was right next to the Atlas Mountains. Is that down by Mauritania? Not exactly. Not exactly. But these would have been the survivors of Atlantis. Then we get next to this study that was done by Michael Hubner before he died, where he compares all the things that Plato wrote and masks them, I'll call them indication layers, and it points right at, this is the mask. That's the actual research. Morocco and the Sumasa Basin. Okay, so that's the Michael Hubner study, puts Atlantis right here. Well, what do we have right below? We have Mauritania. Okay, so we're leading into the Tamanrasset River here. Chris Tolworthy made this slide. What it said is that what we understand now from the Herodotus map is on the other side of this river, another island, and that's probably where the concentric circles were. Now you're pointing right at the actual Tamanrasset layout. The Richat structure was right below it. And then you put in all these ancient lakes and seas, and then you even get more possible infrastructure for water. People say, where was the water? They were in the mountains. There was water. And even in the Piri Reis map, it shows this elephant that's right there. You don't have an elephant in the Azores. I do believe we had an ancient sea. I think there was a sea down below. There's definitely a shoreline on the top. And the Tamanrasset was up here. But look at this shape here. Kind of makes you think that maybe there was some water served. And I believe this whole thing was full of water. I mean, look at this shoreline. It's a 200-mile shoreline. There's the canal that connected over here, maybe. That canal is located right there. So it probably connected to the Tamanrasset. Those are the two parallel canals. And now, since then, there's a 50-mile canal pointing right at the Richat. Going to show that to you later. I wanted to talk about right here, and it's over here. That is a lake bed. And these are, okay, this is actually not there. It's actually over here off the screen. It's over here. This corner of the eye, there's a curve, 10-mile curve. And who made that? The 10-mile curve is located right there. And that's the curve right here. And it's probably a canal inlet, to be honest, because there were all sorts of canals up there. And this thing, I don't think it's a canal because it's down at the bottom. But that's a dry lake bed. And this sand covers it. So we don't know how far out this lake bed went.